the heart of the matter. It's very short slides, not very detailed. I think for the next 5-6 minutes. How do we define health education? It is a very simple definition, and it is a universal definition. Defined by WHO, it's a combination of learning, experiences to help individuals and communities improve their health by increasing their knowledge and influencing their attitudes. Education is central to lots of things. The country's well-being and its economy. When a country educates its citizens, and specifically women, our productivity rises, infant mortality rates fall, maternal health improves quite a bit. Living in Africa, we know that our values result in a lot of marginalization for women, and this has persisted to this current day. Even as we stand here, we know that in lots of countries, education for women is marginalized. We also know that over the past 2 decades and so on, many of our countries have actually put in place structures to try and address the gender gap, both in education and employment. But I believe the figures speak for them, that we are still far off achieving what we exactly have set out to do. Where do the women and the girls lie in this whole sector? I think the need to educate girls even becomes more critical and crucial when we look at health. Women's education is associated with better maternal, child, and family health survival. Women are the primary caregivers, and education empowers them to seek appropriate health care for themselves and their families, even their husbands for that matter, not only the children. I think education enables girls and women to understand and appreciate messaging in matters to do with health. And in lots of cases, educated women tend to be healthier and more income, have fewer children, and provide better health care and education to their own children. And in a lot of cases, this lifts a lot of households within our context out of poverty. What about women and health research? A lot of times, over the past several decades, women are not involved in research. But nowadays, we know that it is unethical not to include women in research. However, we know that despite the strides made in education, the gender gap in science and even in health research still persists across sub-Saharan Africa. Just around about 30% of sub-Saharan African researchers are women. And while we know that a growing number of women keep on enrolling in universities, many opt out before they reach the highest pinnacles of their career due to various reasons. Some just find it difficult to relocate. Their husbands might say, you cannot live here and go and study elsewhere. The families begin tying them down. So you actually find that before they can actually reach the apex of their career, they opt out and remain at a fairly lower level in terms of pursuing a research career. So what are the challenges we face in sub-Saharan Africa, and especially the women, in terms of education? One, in Africa, girls are still likely than boys to enroll and remain in school. The reasons are obvious, we see it every day. I think in 47 out of 54 African countries, girls have a less than 50% chance of going to secondary schools. At schools and colleges, this came up yesterday. Girls actually continue to face discrimination and abuse. There are stereotypes which keep on threatening them. And even as they go higher to university under the tertiary education, we have lots of cases of sexual harassment and so on. It becomes very challenging if you're a girl sitting in an engineering class, you're only 2 of you, and there are 40 males around you. You're always subject to lots of other issues and innuendos and so on, and it becomes very challenging for you to focus on your career. Lots of times, as we have girls in our communities, we tend to socialize them towards things resonating with families, family values, kitchen, and so on. We have negative gender norms within our communities, things like early marriages, especially amongst the pastoral communities, female genital mutilation, and so on. We know that we have excellent female scientists across sub-Saharan Africa doing an excellent job, but they're not placed across the continent or across the communities evenly, such that you tend to find some communities have no role model to look up to, and if somebody comes and says, I'm a woman scientist, they're actually bewildered. Can a woman really be a scientist? So those communities literally have no role model to follow and say, this is the path we want to follow. Their perceptions ingrained early, and a lot of times it is not from the children, but from the educators in terms of what they think is right for the girl and right for the boy. Sciences are normally very costly. If you're going to pay for education, I'm sure you'll find that social subjects are much cheaper to pay in the universities than the sciences. And a lot of our communities are of the stereotype. If I'm going to pay for medicine for my child, if it is a girl, I'm educating a daughter for another community, not for my community. So let me educate my son for medicine. My girl can pursue other things because she'll eventually get married, and we shall not have that knowledge in the community. Looking at our schooling system across sub-Saharan Africa, a lot of our schools actually lack the strategy of identifying potential, talent, and interest in science amongst the girls. And even where they can identify it, we lack the infrastructure to support the same. And if I can talk for Kenya, I think we are also hard hit with the shortage of science teachers who can actually encourage people to pursue science, and more so girls to pursue science as a career. And I think the girls' schools are harder hit for science teachers than the boys' schools within the country. Having said that, I don't think all is lost. I'm about to get to the end. Yesterday we had a lot of policymakers in the room. I still hope a few of them are here. There are challenges, but we can overcome. We have to address the complex issues in terms of educating girls, the poverty, the cultural issues, etc. And I think for a lot of countries, there are a lot of sessional papers in place to address these issues, to say girls should go to school the right way like boys and so on. Whether this is actual practice within those countries is something we can debate. We should deliberately take efforts to encourage girls to pursue sciences. And I think a lot of countries are beginning to embrace that and encourage girls to pursue what they traditionally perceived as the harder subjects. Having pursued them at primary level, we should try to ensure that they still continue pursuing them at tertiary level. We should also teach girls and our women how to avoid stereotypes and promote a growth environment for their mindset so that they can pursue science as a career. And I think above all, we should try to work with the ladies, the girls and the women, to help them recognize their career-relevant skills, even as they begin from a very early stage in life to know that these are things they can actually pursue. This is just my last slide. As I told you, 5-6 minutes. One of the things I like to believe in is that we should all join hands in enacting policies that purposefully embrace girl and women health education across the continent. And I insist purposefully, because we have a lot of policies. Whether they're doing that purposefully is a totally different matter, and that's what we should really be doing. And secondly, one thing I always keep on drumming across, even as an employer and as a scientist, investing in the girl child and women health education is literally investing in our own growth. And that is one thing we should always try to emphasize as we walk across. Thank you. I think it's a fairly short presentation.